Thank you for for the invitation, and I'm sorry I cannot participate in person, but I would like to give my contribution from even from far away. So this is my contribution is to Professor Masson, and I would like to have three aspects to the study, and these three aspects are mainly new things which are included into his study, but I would like to draw some attention to some of the aspects. So one of the things which has been addressed a lot is the waste to energy and issues regarding incineration. As Professor said, there are negative evaluation by the population and environmental organizations of the incineration. So I think it boils down to trust. What do we need trust in? One is first the environmental friendliness of the technology, but it's not enough. We have to have trust in the company's behavior, that the company will follow all the technological requirements and all the laws and legislations, and also all the requirements that authorities are placing and making them to do. There is a trust or lack of trust of public bodies' decisions. Often public bodies, like municipalities, do make their decisions based on economic aspects to increase their budgetary potentials, and sometimes they do consider less the environmental aspects. Now, the public authorities are one of the most important bodies who we need trust in, because they are responsible for the implementation and the enforcement of the legislation. And as the study showed, there are some justification that the lack of trust is justified in some ways, that authorities are not always on top of their work. If someone would go to the European Union Network for Implementation and Enforcement of Environmental Legislation, the IMPEL, then this justification is really proved, because recent reports of IMPEL shows that public authorities often lack of financial means, often lack manpower, often lack enough knowledge and training for different kinds of new solutions, new technologies, and all of these things are causing the lack of trust and the negative approach to incineration. Now let's go to the other aspect. What messages of data on waste could show us? Because it also was said that the waste hierarchy is the waste hierarchy cannot be ignored and should be enforced even when we are doing incineration. The Eurostat statistic explained waste statistics homepage shows several recent data. And if you go to see waste generations, excluding major mineral waste for 2010 and 2020, then we can see that in many of the countries, the waste generation has not decreased, but increased. If we go to the 2020 data, you can see that the major mineral waste is very high in some countries, but it is still very, very high. Now, we can see the waste treatment by type of recovery and disposal by 2020, and it also shows that most of the countries they still have very strong landfill disposal in landfill and other ways how to deal with their waste. So if we go and we are talking about municipal waste, so waste generations by economic activities and households. The households percentage is only 9 to 5%. So municipal, if we go now to municipal waste, we can see that the treatment between 95 and 2020, the amount of waste is really increasing. And it's true what the study said, that the waste from landfill was shortened, or the amount was lessened by incineration. But at the same time, it does not solve the problem, the real problem of waste, which should be decreasing the amount of waste. The municipal waste generation is very high, and I can show you Denmark. I hope I can. No, Denmark and Austria is very high in increase of waste generation. If we go to packaging waste, we can see a very similar trend, and also Germany, who has been mentioned as a model country for waste treatment. Germany has one of the highest generated packaging waste, though recycling is there. So I think it is important that the green movement or environmental concerns are very strong. So for that reason, it is important how and what aspects the municipal waste management service is organized. We need to have it to consumers and to citizens. Consumers has the right to choose, and there are several limitation factors which can limit the choice affecting waste generations. And this is just a few of the most important aspects that will affect consumers' choice. Social and economic status is very important, because sometimes they do not have the ability to buy things, but also sometimes they must buy something to keep their social and economic status. And the sales method are very, very important. I don't have time to explain these, but I think we should talk about this. The citizen approach, on the other hand, is right to a healthy environment. So whose obligation is to implement and enforce? The public bodies and legislation, and the enforcement of legislation is the most commonly accepted. But no, it's not just that. Individuals based on social values, have to and has an obligation to act in order to decrease the waste. So all of these factors have to be considered when municipal waste management service is designed. Now, I developed a waste model based on the waste hierarchy, and these waste models, there are three: the individual value model, and consumer model, and the value model. It is about what do we do if we think, how do we approach different kinds of things that we needed no more. So in the individual model, we do use it for, if we don't need any more, we usually give it to someone who can use it, or someone who can do something with it, either by either recycling it to someone, or recovers for recovery. And then the rest comes only to become waste, and then we have a disposal. So this is the individual value model. The consumer model, if someone does not need something anymore, it already becomes a waste, and then it will come the waste hierarchy. And in a value model, these two are together. So it should be together, because if we talk about prevention, the first part, which is before waste, is really the prevention part. And usually in the EU, this is often less considered because waste legislation is difficult to develop on that one. And final picture that it doesn't matter which way we do the municipal waste organizations. If we do consider all the aspects which has been shown above, it is important that they have to be compatible. We can have a system which considers all the aspects and all the treatment. And thank you for your attention.